Gosh, what a week it's been. The hui at Tūranga Waiwai last weekend with Kingitanga and Ratana over the last couple of days. Of course, the topic of conversation at both events, the Treaty of Waitangi, or Te Treaty of Waitangi. What does it mean? What did it mean back in the day? And what does it mean for us as a nation going forward? A controversial piece of legislation put forward by the ACT Party as part of their coalition agreement. A little bit of backpedaling on that this week, I must say. But what does it all mean for us, particularly as a Christian community? Joining me on the program now is the Director of the Social Policy and Parliamentary Unit of the Salvation Army, Lieutenant Colonel Ian Hutson. Ian, kia ora. Good morning. Thanks for your time today.
Good to be here.
It is. Yep. It is a bit of a curly one. This particular topic, but the debate about what the treaty means, what it means for us as a nation. What do you make of some of these issues?
Well, I think it's a good thing to be talking about. When it's proposed to take it through in the shape of a bill. On its own, though, there are obviously things behind that when you look at some of the other issues that have been raised by the incoming government, it does appear like it's trying to, or could be viewed as trying to weaken the actual meaning or intent of the treaty. So I think it's good to discuss the issue, but there is, what is the intent of that particular initiative is, a bit concerning to me anyway. Yeah.
I mean, there is the issue with the proposed piece of legislation by the ACT Party that's part of the coalition agreement. I suppose National had to say yes to it if they wanted to be in government. But a little bit of backpedaling this week, a little bit of posturing as well. I suppose people saying, hey, this is where I stand on this particular issue. Some people very angry that we're even talking about this.
Yeah, I think it's because if you look at some of the other policies, the stopping or the disestablishment of Te Aka Whai Ora, the Māori Health Authority, there's certain apparent removal or diminishing of te reo in public spaces. A reduction of funding for Māori, for prioritising Māori and other groups. There's just been a number of different policies that sit behind that makes it seem like, for Māori, I would think, like an attack. I think from a Christian point of view too, one of the things I'd like to really highlight, I guess we come from two perspectives. Being a faith-based organisation, we view Te Tiriti as a covenant. It was entered into between Henry Williams, who in a sense was our representative, with a group of people who didn't see things like a legal document as such. They saw it as in a much more spiritual way, a more sacred way, and they had missionaries who were helping them to understand this document. So there's an element of this document has a sacred, it's very important, it's relational, it's a partnership thing, and I think that sits behind it. But on top of that, as a Salvation Army, we have in excess of 40% of our clients or people that have come to us, and overall, everyone included, 150,000. I haven't done my maths on that, but that would be like 60,000 Māori coming to us every year, overrepresented. We believe that the way the treaty wasn't honoured has very much to do with why we're seeing so large numbers of Māori coming through our services, and we want to see that we are able to address that. And some of the things that have been done are at least attempts to start doing that, and a little bit concerned about the direction this government seems to be going in regard to all of that.
I mean, there's certainly inequities within our society, and I know you've got the State of the Nation report coming up in a few weeks. One of the things that you look at is a comparison between outcomes for Māori and outcomes for non-Māori. Year after year, we're showing that there's a huge discrepancy. It seems like, if not colonisation, then breaches of the treaty may be one of the causal factors beyond these discrepancies. If the government's talking about changing what the treaty even means for us, that's really pulling the rug out of people who are out from under people who are already struggling.
I think so, and I mean the Maori Health Authority being disestablished seemed like that was a really good opportunity for Māori to be to be involved at every level within an organisation, to try to see that they're involved in solving the problems that beset their people,
Yeah.
and it would all tie up with the applying or honouring the Treaty of Waitangi. By doing all of that, we've tried for, what is it now? It's more than 140 years, whatever it is, using one way of doing things. And it just seemed like, it's not a total reformation or anything of the whole way we do things, but it was a step towards helping in the health area anyway, have Māori involvement at every level within the organisation to actually address that. In a way, it seemed like it was addressing what the treaty was all about.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, such an important issue. I think it's. I've had time to do the maths. I think it's 184 years since the treaty was signed, and certainly some significantly poor outcomes for Māori 184 years on. However, I wanted to go back to something you were saying beforehand about how when we look at what the treaty means and how it was understood by the people that signed it, perhaps more of a spiritual and relational document than a legal or political one. Perhaps part of the problem that we're seeing at the moment is you've got people that perhaps don't see the world through a spiritual lens, that aren't in relationship with the individuals and with the parties involved, that are trying to solve a relational spiritual document through political means, and honestly, it doesn't fit.
I think that's really an important thing, because we can. I suppose the political process often has an oppositional kind of aspect to it, doesn't it? One winners and losers and all that sort of thing. And when you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective, and very much the intent of what the Te Tiriti was, negotiated with that in mind.
Yeah.
It's about a relationship between parties and doing things. I guess, is it going too far to say in the spirit of love? It's not about what's my right. It's about how can we do this in love and respect for one another, and holding each other's mana, as it's often spoken throughout all of this.
If you're talking about rights and obligations, perhaps you've lost the relationship and you're heading for the divorce court, to go with the marriage metaphor in this regard. Just briefly on this one, Ian, the church had a role back in the day in 1840 when the treaty was put together, as you were talking about before. Do you think that the church has the mana, has the influence to be able to have a say in what we do next in this complex situation?
Well, I would certainly hope so. I mean, if you look at church involvement in social issues, it's huge. If you took the church out of, or Christians out of the social network of New Zealand, this country would be in a huge, would have huge issues.
Yeah.
And we're already dealing with this in one sense. I know we probably need to lift our game as well, but there is opportunity for us to be involved in all of this and to be part of the solution. And obviously the church has been involved from the very beginning. Certain denominations, particularly Anglicans and Catholics, for example, but all of us in different ways are already involved with the actual social issues that are there, and we've got a chance to lead, have our voice there, but also to highlight the nature of the agreement and the kind of relationship that we should be looking for between the partners within the treaty.
Certainly, I think that Salvation Army is perhaps the key example of Christianity with its sleeves rolled up, getting on with dealing with some of the issues that society faces. And perhaps Salvation Army also has the mana and the influence to be able to speak to people involved in this regard. Ian, I thank you so much for the work that you do in this space. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.